first bell ringer of the day. I think we have to ring it. We don't get many opportunities for checkmate. Somebody got their bell rung. That's checkmate, everybody. There you go. So thank you, come again. And Wesley So strikes first, Aman. He is on the board. We see the score updated. And thoughts on what we just saw there?
Yeah, that was a big game with the white pieces, Danny. And I think most importantly, he was always probably slightly better that game. And although the queenside pawns were coming, he managed it very well. But I can't even talk about that too much, Danny, because we're seeing something being right now that I didn't think this was very playable. I know this bishop takes h4 move to be extremely suspicious by black. We have this opening with g4, which we've seen a couple times. It's a very aggressive way to play the queen's gambit. I've tried it myself a few times. But when you play h4, black's normal reaction is knight to d7, Danny, and not actually taking that pawn. We've seen Fabiano Caruana play that position from the black side a few times, especially in the U.S. Championship recently. So it's actually pretty surprising to see him grab that pawn and play g5. I don't know. He has something prepared here, Danny, because I don't think that's the kind of move that you can play very easily.
And, you know, I know Wesley. I mean, we know Wesley always wants to win. Wesley is, though very, very humble, maybe the most humble super GM that we know of in the top five. But he is super competitive, and I will not be surprised if Wesley So is using all the stops, all preparation, like he would over the board. I think his philosophy is every chess game he plays is to the max. We saw him play super high level chess in the Pro Chess League, not really thinking about, oh, this isn't a big event. Every game Wesley So plays is the biggest chess game of his life. Yeah, and I like that.
Queen e7, Danny. I mean, the stuff that Wesley is preparing in this line is very serious, because Queen e7, he's hanging his rook. He's coming with queen takes e3, pretty much leading to very close to a mate. You can see the camera. Anish is looking very disturbed right now, because probably like me, although I'm sure he has a lot more tricks up his sleeve than I do. I really didn't think bishop h4 was this playable, and Wesley has clearly come up with something.
And as you see Anish kind of look over his right shoulder, that's reminiscent of Hikaru Nakamura number 11, as many people know his facial expressions. That means I'm looking off to the side, but I'm trying to remember opening theory. And I think Anish does the same thing. I think he's thinking about the position, like, what's going on here? Because as you said, this is foreign territory. This is high level preparation from Wesley So, and Anish is trying to think his way out of sort of being surprised in the opening.
Yeah, I think Anish is doing the right thing, which is he's speeding up now. And he's just trying to play the position naturally. It's possible to sit there and say, like, okay, I'm pretty sure this should be good for me. What's Wesley up to? Let's try to crack it. He's just saying, well, I've got this position in front of me. Let's just play it. That bishop on h4 is trapped. You know, it is on h4 out of the game, but he did win a pawn for that, and the knight on f5 is nicely supporting it. So he's decided to react in the center. The f6 pawn is hanging. The c6 pawn is hanging. He's just going for piece activity, which is logical when you've been sort of surprised in the opening.
Yeah, and the c6 pawn is weak here for black, so even with the preparation, it's not like this is a clear home run. I still kind of like black's chances. I see this king as being really vulnerable in the center, and this d pawn maybe will be just as weak as the c6 pawn in the long run, but Anish has played well, right? He opened the position. He's now targeting one weakness and another here on f6.
Yep.
So we'll see what Wesley does now that Wesley looks like, from his natural body reactions, kind of looks like he's on his own here, no longer pulling from his prep.
Yeah. You can tell that no matter how satisfied Wesley was with how the opening went, such is the case that Danny, preparation only gets you so far. Usually you have to stop evaluating at some point and just trust an evaluation that you're given. And even if the evaluation is good for black here, he has to figure out why, and he has to justify it probably consistently for the next 10, 15 moves. So I'm not even sure what the evaluation would be. There's no king d3 because of knight b4. You can't move the knight. Maybe g4 is also threatened with knight takes d4 in the position. And the knight on d5 also covers f6. And then knight on f5 stops a move like rook d6 or knight d6. So there's a lot of coordination going on here by black.
Yeah.
You really don't notice until you try to calculate all the moves, and everything you want to do is stopped.
And because of the thing you highlighted about knight to b4 coming, just show everybody another forced threat here. If white made a random move, would be something like rook to e8, pinning the knight. And as the king tries to come up to defend it, white would be walking right into a fork. So I agree with you, Aman. Like, the position at first looks not necessarily harmless, but you don't see anything concrete. Then you start to look at the position more and more, and you see the king really not liking his position here, and there's threats of g4 to kick the knight. There's the e file that's open.
Yeah.
Strange stuff. And if Wesley wins this game, jumping out to a 2-0 lead, to start, he would have already won a game as black. That's big time, and it would really put Giri on his heels as far as, all right, I need to pick up my level of what I'm playing in the opening here, and so I'm not getting out prepared anymore.
Right. No, it's definitely, you're right. And also the thing is that bishop on h2 is not going anywhere. Like, it can't go to f4, e5, d6, c7. Like, the entire diagonal is pretty much cut off. And he decided to take this bishop because although you can criticize the bishop on h4, the bishop on h2 is doing no better. So I think he's tempting Wesley into knight takes, because there is a move knight d6 here, which I assume Wesley is going to play king to e6. So things look like they're just working out for Wesley here, unless there's a shot coming with maybe rook to e1 here, or a knight move followed by rook to e1. He's basically playing for counterplay against the king, because I think structurally and the way that the knights work here, black's position looks better.
Yeah, and structurally, as Aman said, because we have this weak d pawn, which doesn't look under fire yet, but it is isolated, which means it has no other protection by pawns, everybody. This pawn is also weak. And so, yeah, it's counterplay is going to be needed. He goes for rook e1, as you said he might, to kind of put some pressure on the e6 king. But yeah, if black coordinates here, the long run, you favor black's 4 pawns as compared to white's 4 pawns, because white just has many more weaknesses.
Right.
Okay, so we'll see here. And I think that knight takes h4 earlier was also kind of necessary by white, because that bishop on h4 was really irritating with the pressure it exerted on f2. So yeah, this is not a huge time advantage for Wesley, but also a little bit revealing in regards to how the players feel about the position. As we always say, guys at this level don't take time unless they have to.
Right.
So he's trying to think his way out of it.
So I think he's planning to take with the bishop on c7 if that was taken, and then run the pawn d5, d6, and try to put the rooks out of play. But Wesley seems to be navigating the complications pretty well. If he gets a position with, rook on d5, run the h-pawn, knight goes to f5, I think there's some good light square control. And the main thing that bothers me is that bishop on h2 is just out of play. So he's probably going to have to, maybe do some trades, get the bishop to b8 in some lines, and infiltrate with the rooks, because he needs some counterplay badly.
Yeah, his last chance might be some sort of 2-on-1, get a passed pawn going where that bishop can suddenly become useful in helping it on the diagonal. But as we see these players in their reactions, Wesley very confident, leaning back in his chair when needed, getting water. Anish sort of shaking his head at times and not feeling so confident. Now down by about a minute on time. So
yeah.
Great move there, king e6. King activity in the endgame, people. Make it part of your chess, right?
He does
Sign up
not
today.
want white to play d5, Danny. If white got the move d5 in, that would be fairly restricting, I think. So
right.
He really wants to control that, and now he's just going to run the h-pawn. This is...
Was this a blunder by Anish? King to d3? Is he not just... What happened there? The knight came to f3, forking the bishop and the pawn.
Yeah.
That pawn is capturable in my book, right? Yeah, and Wesley goes for it. Now he'll save the a-pawn.
Save the a-pawn.
So yeah, it looks like... Yeah, I mean, white still has outside chances. The bishop is a little better than the knight in some of these cases if it can sort of defend the h-pawn from running and help these pawns push. But right now this knight is so centralized and so active that there's just no time for white to kind of push his 2-on-1 advantage and try to get a passed pawn, because, I mean, look at this move, knight c6. It attacked the bishop and stops b4. I think now we'll see the king activate, and then soon we'll see black playing f5 and h5 and just start using his extra pawns.
Yeah, I think he can very reasonably play h5 here, or g4, and the idea of bringing the knight to e7 and then to f5. And I think this is pretty much over. Bishop to g3 might be played, and then knight d4 wins the pawn because of king f4, knight e2, for example. So otherwise, if you're not stopping the move h4 from coming, then black just plays h4, g3. So it looks like it's going to be winning here, just a matter of finishing off the technique by Wesley.
Yeah, and Wesley So almost seems just super confident. I mean, maybe it's his really homey cabin-looking room behind him, right? Looks like he's just on a nice sort of relaxing vacation.
Yeah, I'm not
And
sure where Anish is, but it looks like he's almost in like a hotel room or very bleak walls there.
I'm pretty sure he's home. I think this is his office.
Okay.
But there are more pictures to his right, just not sure. But you're right. No, it does look much more bland. Whereas Wesley's background is full of life, and like I said, looks like a cabin. All right, well, here go the pass pawns, and I think Wesley takes this game, and I think we have a leader. We have someone jumping out, and winning as black. That's a big deal when players of this level meet. So.
Yeah, especially what Wesley just did with the white pieces the game previous. You know, the fact that he's going to get that color again.
Yep.
Potential to make. It's kind of like in tennis, Danny, when you break a serve. Sometimes you can go out to those huge set leads where you break someone's serve and then suddenly it's like 5-2 in a tennis set. You're playing for the entire set.
Right.
From like one service break. So
here
he's broken the serve, so to speak. He looks like he's going to win with the black pieces very easily at this point. And then he's going to have white again, and it can really jump out to a massive lead in this match.
Yep. Well, Giri playing it out here. I think he's trying to shake off some of the nerves too. Just get a few games in. Obviously, the match is early, and he knows that. But we'll see. So again, I want to thank everybody who's joined us very recently. We have a lot of viewers here on Twitch, and we also have a lead for Wesley So. This is the 2000.